Welcome to the Introverted Misfit podcast with me, Caroline Smith, where you'll discover how to become a socially confident version of yourself while embracing your inner misfit. Chances are that you've gone your whole life thinking you have to fake being someone you're not just to fit in. You've got to exude lively, extroverted sociability to have the social life you've always wanted. Well, not here you don't. On this podcast, we'll discuss the different ways you can connect and communicate like the introverted misfit that you are. Enjoy the show, Misfit! Hello to all of you who are tuning into this episode of the Introverted Misfit podcast. My name is Caroline, and with my brand and coaching services here, I help people who find socializing to be tricky and nerve-wracking build up their social confidence without having to be someone they're not. Don't forget, my upcoming virtual workshop is going to be on March 30th, Introvert-Friendly Social Strategies for Gatherings and Events. And of course, the link to register and get your ticket is in the description of this episode. And as you may remember, my podcast episodes leading up to that workshop are all going to be on the topic of socializing at gatherings and events, specifically about building confidence in your ability to navigate those kinds of social settings. In this episode, I want to talk about the one main thing that is getting in your way of overcoming your fears of socializing. Or maybe you wouldn't go as far as to call it a fear. Maybe it's a nervousness or a feeling of being out of place. But whatever you want to name it, it's a discomfort with being around lots of people who are socializing. I want to tell you the story of when I first brought home my dog, Krusty. His full name is actually Krustees after the pancake mix. The story about when I first brought him home from the racetrack. He's a retired racing greyhound from Arkansas, and I adopted him, I think in 2021. I can't believe it's already been that many years, 5 years now, I think, because it feels like it has not been that long. But one thing that the kennel warned me about is that Krusty would probably be very nervous, anxious, and jumpy for the first 8 months to a year. Why? Because racing greyhounds have been raised in kennels in a certain environment for their entire lives. They are basically kept in a cage when they're sleeping, and if they're not running on a racetrack or practicing running and chasing after mice and that kind of stuff. So when you bring them home, it's a very new, unfamiliar environment for them. They're not used to the outside world. The world of cars driving by on the road when you're taking them for a walk. The garbage truck making that really loud noise when it drives by to pick up the trash in the neighborhood. Doors being closed in the house, especially if it's loudly. A printer beeping. Things like that. A fan on the ceiling running. So when I brought Krusty home, he was afraid of everything. He would jump at the slightest noise, and that went on for a solid year until he finally learned that those things weren't as much of a scary threat as he was making them out to be. But can you guess how I was able to help my dog overcome his fears, his fear of the unknown or fear of what's new? It wasn't by hiding him inside of my house all day. It wasn't by trying to shield him from every little possibly scary thing. It wasn't by trying to be as quiet as a mouse every time I did something around the house, like closing doors and cabinets, turning on the faucet, the shower, changing the trash bags out, etc. The only way Krusty was able to become less anxious about those things was to expose him to those scary things in reasonable amounts until he was able to tolerate them more and more. So I would start by taking him on 10-minute walks and reassuring him that the passing cars weren't going to hurt him. The trash cans being rolled back up the driveway were not anything to worry about. The neighbor riding his bicycle past us was not going to hurt him. And around the house, I would make the same amount of noise that I made in a typical day when getting ready, cooking, doing anything, until he finally got the point that these things are not scary. You're not going to die whenever a door closes or a car drives by. Well, if I had to guess, Krusty's situation many years ago probably sounds a lot like your situation right now regarding socializing. Right now, you have a nervousness or a fear around being in a room full of people with all of the chatter and the busyness and the social activity that makes you freak out a little bit inside. And what have you done to solve this issue? You just stay to yourself most of the time or all of the time. Maybe you go to work, but you spend the whole time trying to avoid people's conversation, and then you come straight home and avoid people some more, which is, of course, needed as introverts like ourselves, people who get very overwhelmed and tired from socializing a lot, and we need our alone time. But is your hiding away in the house coming from a place of genuinely needing alone time, or is it coming from a place of fear? A fear of people and their judgment of you. Technically, hiding away is one solution to the problem. It is making you feel better and less nervous because you never have to face the thing that's causing your fears. But what are the costs of that solution? Being alone and feeling lonely for way too long. Feeling like you're about to enter a war zone every time you step outside of the house because you're just praying to God that you don't bump into someone who might start a conversation with you. That's a very costly solution long term. So now I want to tell you about, or rather show you, a better solution. A solution that does not, by the way, involve you having to overextend yourself and go over your limits. The solution is to go instead of avoiding. Go to that social event instead of talking yourself out of it. Face your fear of being in social situations, not just one time, but consistently, so that just like Krusty, my dog, you can build up a resilience to that socializing doesn't scare you, you can build up a resilience so that socializing doesn't scare you for the rest of your life. Those of you who follow me on my Instagram or my Facebook, which, by the way, if you don't, please do. You can use my handle, The Introverted Misfit, on all of my social media platforms. But if you've been following me, you have probably seen the content I posted about my recent trip to the 25th Annual Alabama Autism Conference in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Side note, speaking of navigating large social events as an introvert, I used every single social strategy that I'll be teaching you in my workshop for the entire 2 days I was at this conference. And they worked like a charm, if I do say so myself. Not to brag, but I collected at least 6 business cards and had long conversations with a little more than 10 people, which is more than enough in my book. That's a reasonable amount of socializing in an environment like that for an introvert like myself, who is also on the spectrum. But I traveled there this past Thursday and Friday, and of course I know that not all of you listeners are on the spectrum. Some of you are just introverts who feel like a misfit of sorts for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what you identify as, this is going to be relevant to you. One of the speakers of the event was talking about anxiety and how it is one of the most popular comorbidities of being on the spectrum, specifically generalized anxiety and social anxiety. And she was talking about how to overcome it for autistic individuals. Because many of us don't like socializing, to be frank. We don't get it. We don't understand it. We don't understand how to do it. And it just feels like more stress than what it's worth. It's overwhelming. And do you know what she said the solution is to this anxiety? To gradually build tolerance. What does that mean? It means you have to do what's hard for you right now, even if it's little by little, so that you can learn to tolerate what is intolerable for you right now. In other words, you have to face your fears. You have to leave the comfort of your house sometimes. You have to go to that holiday party at work that only happens once a year, or go to your cousin's wedding. Go to that, gaming convention that you've always wanted to go to. I don't know if a gaming convention is even a thing, but insert whatever event in place of what I'm saying. Now, don't worry, because after you go to the event, you can always come back home when you're ready to. But you can't stay locked inside forever, living a life of complete social withdrawal. And you know what? There's a way to build that tolerance without overextending yourself and having to act like someone you're not. You don't have to be like my social butterfly sister that I always talk about on this podcast. You don't have to be like her and go join a group of 10 people and talk to them all at once. You don't even have to stay for the entire social event if you don't want to. So how is all of that even possible? You'll find out March 30th in my virtual workshop. We are going to go over social strategies that work for you, your needs, and your limits, so that you can make connections and socialize in introvert-friendly ways and keep yourself from getting burnt out and overstimulated mid-event. So whether you are an introvert who struggles with shyness, social anxiety, feeling awkward in social settings, or all of those combined, maybe you're on the spectrum like myself, my upcoming workshop will give you the practical tools and coping strategies that you need to navigate social settings with confidence. Reserve your seat today while early bird pricing is still in effect using the link in the description, or you can go directly to theintrovertedmisfit.com/workshop. I hope I'll see you there. Hey, Misfit. If you enjoyed today's show, there's more where that came from. I want to invite you to join the Introverted Misfit newsletter so that you'll never miss an episode. In addition to being notified about new podcast episodes every week, you'll receive more value-packed content from me that will nurture your inner misfit and help you find and manage your very own introvert-friendly community. You can find the link in the description, the show notes, or you can go directly to theintrovertedmisfit.com/newsletter. I'll see you there.